Alex, a P6 in the reverse grid. The track was much hotter than earlier, and you made some great overtakes out there. How would you assess things?
Yeah, I'm really happy. Obviously, I think the weekend hasn't gone to plan so far, but we've still had one or two good results, and the pace has been really strong. And then I think we got the perfect opportunity to show that in race 3. The car felt really good, and I managed to make my way through and make some good moves. And in the end, we got a pretty good result. So yeah, I'm really happy to finish the weekend on a high.
And you were banging in the fastest laps in the middle of the race when you were passing the cars. So what was that like, and how tricky was it to overtake while you were so quick?
I think overtaking actually wasn't as hard as I expected. I expected it to be much worse, but I guess because we had such a good pace advantage, kind of made my life a little bit easier. I think a lot of the moves I didn't have to work too hard. Some of them were quite difficult, but yeah, ultimately I'm happy. The car was really good in dirty air. Normally you struggle with that a little bit, but I think we made a good compromise with the setup. So yeah, it was good coming through the traffic, and I really enjoyed it.
And if you guys got 5-second track limit penalties, so how tricky was it managing the penalties at the track limits and avoiding penalties?
Yeah, I think it's 3 offences that we have before you get a penalty, and I knew in my mind how many times I'd gone off previously, so I kind of just stayed calm. Once I knew that I wasn't really going to gain any more positions, I kind of just chilled out in the position I was and took it easy in the corners where I knew you could do track limits, and kind of just managed things till we ended up finishing the race. So yeah, I'm happy with how it went.
Where are the most difficult corners out there to gain track limit penalties?
I think turn 1 Cops, turn 7 Stowe. They're probably the 2 main ones. I think they're both very high speed corners. So as a driver, you always want to carry as much as possible and be on the limit. But obviously, when you're on the limit, it's easy to go a little bit wide. So I think that's why a lot of drivers were struggling with keeping it within the limits. And then especially when you're in dirty air, and I think this track kind of doesn't really help the front left a lot, so you normally have a lot of front left graining, and they're both right hand corners, so that's really where you're going to struggle the most, and especially if you combine the dirty air you get with understeer. Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I understand people getting penalties is not an easy thing. The track limits here are probably the hardest track, I'd say, to keep it within track limits, but yeah, I'm glad I managed to do so.
And how tricky is it managing the graining, especially on the front left with all the high-speed turns around here?
Yeah, I think the setup we had kind of managed it quite well. I had to change my driving style slightly to manage it as well. I think some people probably struggled a little more than I did. I definitely struggled a little bit too, but yeah, in the end it was pretty good, and I'm happy with how our pace was and how our tyre management was.
Spa next time out, what are you expecting there, and how do you think it will be to maximise the lap time there?
Well, I've never driven Spa in this car before. I'm fairly familiar with it in F4, and I always had pretty good pace around there. So hopefully if we can have the same in GB3, that would be really nice. I think Spa is going to be a really, really enjoyable track in GB3 with a downforce. So yeah, obviously I don't have a lot of experience there in this car yet, so I'll have to wait and see until the race weekend, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'll see you at Snap.
Perfect.